Good morning. All right, so you should have watched the Take 3 notes, and then you should have tried the Take 3 practice on your own, and now you should be checking your work. If you haven't tried the Take 3 practice, go ahead and try it on your own first. Look at all of the notes that we did on fractions, decimals, and percents day 1. Look at all the notes in the video on fractions, decimals, and percents notes day 2. And go back and watch the Take 3 notes. I really want you guys to try this Take 3 practice on your own first, and then check to see how you did. All right, so 45% going to the fraction. 45% means 45 hundredths. And I know that that can be reduced. I know those numbers are divisible by 5. So 45 hundredths, look at your final answer. Make sure you simplified 45 hundredths to 9 twentieths. Now for the decimal, remember our fraction is 45 hundredths. Well, we know to write the decimal, 45 hundredths is 0.45. So the two answers that you should have on your paper are 9 twentieths and 0 and 45 hundredths. Number 2, 6 tenths. Now I know 6 tenths is not reduced because those are both even numbers. If I divide 6 by 2, I get 3, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So your final answer on your fraction for number 2 should be 3/5. Now our middle column is our percent. So we're starting, let's go back to our 6 tenths. A percent is out of 100. So if I multiply 10 times 10 and 6 times 10, that gets me to 60 hundredths. So your percent for number 2, check your answer on your paper, your percent should be 60%. Let's go back to the fraction that we started with, 6 tenths. The decimal 6 tenths is written as 0.6. So there, are your 3 answers for number 2. 30% as a fraction in simplest form. So 30% means 30 over 100. I know those numbers are both divisible by 10 because they both end with 0. So 30 divided by 10 is 3, and 100 divided by 10 is 10. So check your fraction for number 3. That should be 3 tenths. You already have your percent. Now we're going to go over to our decimal. So we're starting with 30 hundredths. To write the decimal 30 hundredths is 0.30 or, what is happening with my iPad? Hello? 0.3. Sorry, my little stylus was not working there for a minute. Okay, number 4. So here is a 3-digit decimal. 165 thousandths. I'm going to go to my first box, which is my fraction. So I'm going to write the fraction exactly as I read the decimal. 165 thousandths is 165 over 1,000. Now I know all numbers that end with 5s and 0s are divisible by 5. So I'm going to put both of those numbers in a ladder. And 165 divided by 5, you should have gotten 33. 1,000 divided by 5 is 200. So check your answer on number 4. Did you reduce that fraction to 33 200ths? Check your answer for number 4. That should be 33 200ths. All right, the percent. Now, if I'm starting with 0 and 165 thousandths as a decimal, we learned to convert from the decimal to the percent. We move the decimal 2 places to the right. So that means my decimal is going to be sitting between the 6 and the 5. So that would be written as 16.5%. 3 answers for number 4, 33 200ths, 16.5%, and you had 165 thousandths as a decimal. All right, so I'm looking right here at my 1 7/10, converting to a percent. So 1 7/10 is equal to 1 70/100. Now, once I'm here, I know that whole number 1 equals 100%. 70/100 equals 70%. I'm going to put those two percents together. Your final percent should say 170%. For the decimal, let's start with the original mixed number that we were given, 1 7/10. You're going to write the decimal exactly as you read the mixed number. 1 and, we know and is always the decimal, 7/10. That's what your decimal should be for number 5. If I'm going too quickly, make sure and pause the video. You can restart, back it up, rewind, fast forward. Number 6, 7/10. That's already in simplest form. So I'm going to start there for my percent. I know a percent is always out of 100. So if I multiply 10 times 10 and 7 times 10, 7/10 equals 70/100. And as soon as you have a number over 100, you've got your percent. Decimal, 7/10. 7/10, 0.7. Number 7, we're starting with 80% right here in the middle. 80%. And I'm writing that as a fraction in lowest terms. So I know 80% means 80 over 100. So I'm going to make a division ladder. I know numbers ending with zeros are divisible by 10. I know even numbers are divisible by 2. So my final answer must be 4/5. Okay, percent. Let's go back to our 80/100. We know 80% equals 80/100. And we know to write 80/100 is 0.80. Okay, sorry, that little line. All right, so number 8, we are looking at 18/200. Well, those are both even numbers. Whoopsies, my bad. Those are both even numbers, so I'm going to put those in a ladder and divide them by 2. So my fraction should reduce to 9/100. That should be your fraction for number 8. Middle column is my percent. So 9/100 equals 9%. Last column is your decimal. 9/100 is written as 0.09. Take a careful look at number 9. So I'm looking over here to the right at my 0 and 225 thousandths. Now remember, to go from the decimal to the percent, we slide that decimal 2 places to the right. So I'm going to start with my decimal 0 and 225 thousandths. And we learned to slide that decimal 2 places to the right. So that would be 22.5%. Check your answer on number 9. That should be 22.5%. Okay, now going backwards, I'm going to start with the decimal that I was given. I was given 0 and 225 thousandths. That equals 225 thousandths. Now those have to be reduced. I'm going to divide by 25, and that gets me to 9 and 40. So that answer should be 9/40. All right, last one, 3 and 41/50. That is already reduced, so there's nothing I need to do with it. Now for my percent, I know the percent has to be over 100. And I know to get to 100, I'm going to have to multiply 50 times 2 and 41 times 2. So now I'm focusing on 3 and 82 hundredths. Well, the whole number 3 is worth 300%, and 82 hundredths is 82%. Put those two together. Final percent for number 10 should be 382%. And your decimal, I'm going to start with what I had right here. I'm going to read it 3 and 82 hundredths. I'm going to write it 3 and 82 hundredths. You write the decimal exactly as you read the fraction. Alrighty, you're finished. I hope you did well. Email me with any questions. See you.